for an entire week. Watch.
We don't yet know exactly what these three objects were, but nothing right now suggests they were related to China's spy balloon program or that they were surveillance vehicles from any other country. These three objects were most likely balloons tied to private companies, recreation, or research institutions. I expect to be speaking with President Xi, and I hope we're going to get to the bottom of this. But I make no apologies for taking down that balloon.
Why would we even consider having an apology? It was the CCP's balloon. Biden also claims that shooting down that Chinese spy flight earlier this month sent a clear message about America's sovereignty, even though he allowed it to travel across the country for a week, sending images of U.S. nuclear installations back to China. Joining me right now, Committee for Freedom in Hong Kong President, former South China Morning Post editor-in-chief, and the author of Today Hong Kong, Tomorrow the World. Mark Clifford is here. Mark, great to see you. Thanks very much for being here this morning. And you know the CCP up close and personal. You witnessed how they came into Hong Kong and threw freedom fighters in jail, including Jimmy Lai. Your thoughts on this surveillance program from Communist China?
Well, I think that China is really trying to figure out how to make the best of a bad situation. I mean, they've had this surveillance program for some time, of course. Now they've been caught out. It seems that these balloons have been floating over our country during the previous administration as well as this one. But I think what's interesting is how China's gone from being contrite and a bit apologetic at first to lying, of course, and now trying to take the initiative and be aggressive. And I think China's really confused, and Xi Jinping is not about to fall from power, but he's facing a lot of difficulties right now. So I hope the Biden administration keeps the pressure on him. There's talk about Secretary of State Blinken meeting with Wang Yi, his Chinese counterpart, in Munich this week. But it's almost like the U.S. is begging for a meeting. I think it's China that should be looking for a meeting. I'm happy that the president is trying to diffuse tensions. We don't want to go to war over a balloon. But yeah, it's a bad situation on both sides.
Yeah. But, Mark, let's be clear. You said that these balloons have traveled in other administrations. This was unprecedented. Never before have we seen a surveillance tool able to travel across America for an entire week, able to snap images of our nuclear installation. So let's be clear. We don't have any evidence of any other balloons during any other administrations. However, if there were, the way this administration is claiming, they definitely were not traveling the country for a week, able to snap the kind of data that this balloon did.
Well, this is part of a broad-ranging Chinese spying program, and it's one where you see an all-of-state approach with business. And so you're seeing kind of a quasi-business, quasi-government program. And, of course, you know, there's a vast satellite program that, I mean, both sides have that is allowing pretty good Chinese surveillance of our skies every day. Unfortunately, it's the world we live in.
That's right. And Secretary of State Anthony Blinken arriving in Germany this morning ahead of the Munich National Security Conference, which, of course, kicks off today. You mentioned a moment ago that he'll be meeting perhaps with his counterpart in China, but the U.S. and China have reportedly discussed that potential meeting between Blinken and China's top diplomat. We'll see what comes up. But, Mark, what would you like to see that conversation look like? We have no evidence that this administration has ever brought up the origins of COVID-19 with the Chinese officials. But this surveillance balloon is just one more provocation from Communist China that has been this case now for a few years since COVID arrived.
I mean, there's so much that they could talk about. Obviously, we've got, as your previous guest, Congressman French Hill, mentioned, we've got this ongoing Uyghur genocide. I mean, the largest civilian internment in concentration camps we've seen since the Nazi period. We have in Hong Kong alone, a small city of 7 million people. We've got over 1,000 political prisoners. We have a show trial of 47 freedom fighters going on right now. I mean, there's so much that Secretary of State Blinken could talk about. When you go to the macro, China has a massive nuclear weapons program that they're engaging in and really accelerating. That's going to put them at a peer competitor status within, probably by the end of the decade. So there's a lot that Secretary of State Blinken should try to hold the Chinese to account for, or at least get some answers and some dialogue.
Yeah. Mark, what would you say is the answer to now another well-known business executive missing in China. We know that we watched Jack Ma get disappeared for several months after he went against the CCP's line of regulation around financial services. But now this morning we understand Fan Bao, who is a well-known deal maker in China, the top deal maker in China, and the technology sector top deal maker, he has been unreachable. According to the investment bank he founded, the Wall Street Journal reported about China Renaissance Holdings plummeting this morning in Hong Kong. They lost almost a fifth of its value because the CEO and founder is missing.
Yeah, well, I think it shows that there's real political risk in China, even for business people. So China is trying to tell the world it's back after COVID. It'll be business friendly. Hong Kong has started this whole Hello Hong Kong campaign. We're back. Life is normal. Don't mind about our national security law. I think the disappearance of the founder of China Renaissance, Fan Bao, is another sign that the Chinese communist leadership cares above all about power. You're not dealing with a normal government here. You're dealing with essentially a mafia state.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is an important warning for all of those American companies that want to go set up shop in communist China to sell their widgets to 1.4 billion people. Will they ever have the kind of influence they would like to have in being a foreigner in communist China?
Well, foreigner or Chinese, I think it's a warning to any business person that you engage with these people at your risk. I'm really disheartened to see the American Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong shilling for the Chinese Communist Party and for Hong Kong and trying to say everything is normal there when you've got over 1,000 political prisoners in what was once one of the freest cities in Asia and certainly the freest city in China. So, yeah, I mean, China can't help itself. As I say, this is not a normal government that respects business or rule of law.
Mark, real quick, because you watched what the CCP did to Hong Kong, do you think that's the kind of takeover we'll see in Taiwan? Mike Gallagher, the head of the China Select Committee, told us on this program he thinks that the Chinese will invade Taiwan in 2024.
Well, Hong Kong is what China envisions for Taiwan tomorrow. I think we saw deterrence fail in Ukraine. We have to ensure that deterrence succeeds in Taiwan. The costs for the world are just too high. So this administration plays a key role in seeing that we can keep peace in East Asia.
All right, we will leave it there. Mark.